I'm Amy from Doodle Dog Designs. In this video, I'm going to make a summer ditty bag with some yo-yo flowers on it. I have this old feed sack that I'm going to use to make the bag, and I have some vintage little tiny yo-yos. These are about the size of a penny or even smaller, that I'm going to use to make some flowers. I'm going to make it fairly small since my yo-yos are so small, and I feel like this pinstriping is too big for the size of the bag I want to make. So I'm going to use a section from over here that doesn't have any of the pinstriping, and I can use that part later for a different project. I'm going to use one long piece and fold it over underneath. And I want it to be 4.5 inches wide when I get done and about 4.5 inches tall. So I'm going to cut a piece that's 9 inches by 4.5 inches. I went ahead and left this little funky corner there. I think that adds a little character to it. I will eventually sew up along the edges, but first I want to add my decorations. That will be easier to do before I sew it. I would like to add some stripes that are narrower to the fabric. So I have my painter's tape. I've put my piece of fabric down on some wax paper. My frog tape is a little less than 1 inch wide, and I know I'm going to do a 1/4 inch seam. I'm going to put my tape right on the edge. This will be my big stripe. Then I'm just eyeballing this. I have a stencil brush, and I'm using some brown craft paint. I want to make sure I don't have too much paint on the paintbrush. And I'm just dabbing it like I would a stencil. I'll let that dry just a little bit before I add these smaller stripes on either side. And I'm going to put a number over here. A lot of times the feed sacks would have had numbers on them. So again, I want to make sure that I'm over far enough that it won't be in the seam. I'm going to do a number 9. And then I'm going to do little stripes next to the big stripe. I'm going to need to cut my piece of tape. So I want the uncut edge to be the side that I use for my stencil. Now that the paint has dried, I'm going to fold it over and I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch seam on either side. And I will do this with the wrong sides together so that if you prefer not to sew, you could use glue to glue up the side seams. Now I'm going to work on unraveling the sides a little bit. I've got some green rickrack I'm going to use for these stems. I'm going to use some tacky glue to attach the flowers. So they're going to look like they're all coming together as one there, but I'm cutting these two stems off. And I've got some thin jute. I'm going to tie a knot, and I'll place it right at that spot. Tuck it up under the yo-yo there. And then right here, I'm going to slide my knot under. I cut a strip of the same fabric that I used here. It's about 5 inches long and about a 1/2 inch wide. And I'm going to unravel the edges. Then I'm going to glue the two ends together. And then I'm going to glue it inside my bag. I've got some jute. I put it through my loop here, and I have a little key I'm going to put on my jute. I want it to hang down a little bit, right around in there. So I'm going to tie a knot right here. Now I've got some khaki colored crinkle ribbon. Also put it through my loop there, and I'm going to catch the knot, my jute knot, in my tie to help hide that jute knot. And I'm just going to tie this in a knot. So I've got my ribbon and then the jute knot right there. Tying the ends in a little knot so they don't unravel too much. I printed off some pieces of old handwriting and music that I found on the Graphics Fairy website. These are free printables, and I'm going to tear them out. I'm going to fold along the edge and just gently rip it. I've got a brown ink pad, and I'm going to smudge up the edges a little bit. These pages already have an aged look to them, so I just need to grunge up the edges where I tore it, and then I'm going to roll it. Let's start on the bottom here. And I've cut a little piece of jute. I did find it was easier to get the jute tied on if I made a little circle with my knot already prepared and then just slid that over the rolled up paper. taller one in the middle. I'm going to add a little sprig of Sweet Annie to the bag. I feel like it needs just a little bit more grunge, so I'm going to use a little dark. This is Special Dark wax. There's a lot of different wax products you could use. I just happen to have this one on hand, so I'm just going to get a very small amount of it and brush it along the edges. This wax is really meant for wood, but I use it on a lot of projects. If you like this ditty bag, be sure to check out my other primitive craft tutorials.